right. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. Today's incredible business owner guest is Robert Royer. Robert, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
I'm the founder and president of Building Brands Marketing. I've been in the marketing agency industry for almost a decade now. We started Building Brands Marketing in 2018. It was just me, independent one-man consulting agency. And then today, fast forward, we're a little over 24 employees. And basically, my entire career has been in leadership in the marketing space. And before that, I was in restaurants for 8.5 years.
hmm Awesome. So you started the business in 2018, you said?
2018. Yeah. Mhm.
Nice. And you were working in marketing at a different agency before that?
Yeah, I actually started out in media selling newspaper advertising. And like many newspapers, they launched a digital agency internally. And worked my way up and ran that, and then worked for another one and ultimately started Building Brands in 2018.
Nice. Where did you uh, find the courage or inspiration to kind of set out on your own?
Yeah. Well, what happened was the organization that I was with was essentially dissolving. Another agency was popping up with all the same personnel, and it was going to be another startup. And then also some things happened in that transition that really just showed me this wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I decided, hey, if I'm going to be part of a new startup, I really wanted it to fit, some of my core values, customer service principles, and that's what ultimately led to Building Brands starting. And truthfully, you know, what happened was the organization I was with, we all got uh, put under a lawsuit. There was a big lawsuit happening. We were on temporary restraining orders. And, I always say that it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because sometimes it takes things like that to happen to make the leap, where when you're comfortable, it's harder to make the leap because things are very comfortable. Uh, and so, and that was settled very quickly. It was all over with. But if it wasn't for that, what was in my eyes, a big kind of tragic event at the time, I probably never would have made the leap. And it was the best decision I
Mm,
ever made looking back in hindsight.
hmm Yeah, isn't that the truth? Sometimes the worst things that happen deliver the best things in our lives, right?
Exactly. Exactly. It was a
Yeah,
good lesson.
yeah. That's awesome. So, I definitely want to dig into, how you guys have grown so much in 6 short years. But can you talk about, you mentioned your core values and your customer service philosophy. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. It, it's really easy. So it's really just caring is the first like critical component to business success. Uh,
hmm
Caring, first of all, if you just care about what you do, that makes you stand out from the crowd in some instances. And then secondly, understanding, for me it was understanding that relationships are the key to business. And never burning any bridges, doing everything I can to nurture the relationships in my life. And originally, when I first started Building Brands, you know, it was all about ownership, caring, accountability, producing results for the clients. And really, for the first couple of years, it was about, hey, signing all the clients so we could survive, right? Like most
hmm
businesses when you're in the startup phase. And then about 3 years in, everything changed in terms of like what I was going out to the market trying to get. It went from just being new clients to now trying to get top tier talent and scalable talent and autonomous talent and things of that nature. And this was interesting for me because a while back I went to a leadership workshop, and this author talked about this thing called finding your for statement or your why. And I realized then what my why was and what our why is at the executive level of Building Brands Marketing. And it's two words: enhancing livelihoods. Ultimately, when we identified, hey, if we can enhance the livelihoods and the professional growth opportunity and everything of our employees, the clients are going to be taken care of in the end result. And so for us, that was the really critical thing. finding out our four statement, which is enhancing livelihoods, and then ultimately that would trickle down to the clients, business livelihoods being enhanced as well.
Mhm. Awesome. How did you uh, discover your why, or how did you come
Well, it
come
it
to find it?
it
Yeah.
it really came into that realization around 3 years in when I realized, hey, it's not just now about identifying new clients and all, it's about, as we continue to scale, figuring out a way, my individual skill set and our original, leadership team members, we can scale our skill sets beyond ourselves because there's only so much time in the week. And that was where I realized, hey, it's just as critical for us to continue to attract, retain, recruit and retain uh, good talent as it is new clients, because those two things go hand in hand. Client retention has been our bread and butter. I mean, we have a phenomenal client retention rate, 90% plus, and that's really been what's uh, drove a lot of the stabilization for our growth over 6 years. And so it was really about identifying that, hey, as simple as this sounds, doing a good job is just as critical as finding another, opportunity for a new client.
Hmm. Absolutely. Are there any specific keys to client retention besides the obvious? Do a great job.
Yeah. Well, first thing is definitely proactive communication. Not just communicating with the client when they ask a question or they ask for an update, but proactively providing them those updates, and both externally but also internally. Proactive communication internally, staying ahead of the strategy, getting ahead of things before it's a problem, identifying trends or positive or negative trends ahead, ahead of the ball essentially. So proactive communication is a big one. Also, just continuing to nurture those relationships, understanding that, you know, clients are people, and in many cases, over time, they become friends, they become close family, all these sort of things. And so, trying to look at every client from the perspective of, hey, if this was my business, what would I want? And when you try to kind of put yourself in their shoes and treat everything like it's your own business, a you do a good job because you're thinking about it from their perspective. But B, it creates a more personal connection with that individual, especially if you're getting to know them personally, because they feel like you care about their business more. When I talk to business owners after I've been working with them for a little bit, I start to talk about we, us. Hey, when I refer to the business, I'm referring to how we're doing this month, because the reality is, in the B2B space, the success of our business is dependent on the success of their business. And, when you really just embrace that, it becomes, I mean, really just a driving factor of growth for both sides.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So, you mentioned finding top tier talent. I think once you get to a certain stage of your business, that almost becomes more important than finding clients. Do you
Yeah.
have any strategies or recommendations, or tips for finding and retaining top tier talent?
Yeah, definitely. I think it starts with the retention first, focusing on retention, and then the finding becomes easier. So we've done a lot of things from an employee culture standpoint to try to improve employee retention for people that fit our culture. That's the critical thing. I don't believe that any person that has a good resume and all the qualifying experience necessarily means that they are a good fit for your company unless they align with your culture. When we look at our core values, ownership, accountability, integrity, focusing on positive, challenging, and challenges and collaboration, are some of the things that really align with our core values. And for us, we all, there's a handful of us that could be marketing directors with, local hospital or, good sized companies. However, we believe that us collectively, we call it this thing called the BBM community. I'll explain in just a minute. We believe that we're capable of building something greater than we are individually in an individual capacity with a group of like all stars. And so, actually, one of our creative director came up with this concept along with our lead social media strategist several years ago, and it was this concept of the BBM community, not a family, because a family you don't really choose who's a part of your family. In a community, you can choose who's a part of your community, and the idea of the unity part of it is us unified with this collective team of all stars is capable of doing something much greater than if we were in a one man, two man, 3 person personnel system at some other organization as an in-house marketing team. And so first, developing some of the things like we do, going the extra mile awards, which are peer-to-peer awards that one peer recognizes the other peer. We do on the spot awards when people do a real good thing. We have a shout out box where people can just give shout outs on their coworkers, and then in our all staff meetings we read through those and share those kind of wins and successes. Little things like we had a little yoga room that we converted now into a studio space. We have a kids room with a Lego building table and board games and Roku TV and things like that. So people's kids can come up here at spring break and things like that, and nurture relationships with each other. We have a gym downstairs. These are little things that in a South Texas rural town is not the norm for the company culture. And so when you're doing those things that make people happy, I mean, this whole back wall, this is anybody can do this in their office space. They could paint the walls, they could hang their stuff up. We allow them to try to make it their own space. And when you have that happening, people naturally are a little bit happier at work. Well, when you're also nurturing the professional growth by being surrounded with a group of people that all want to become better at what they do every day, the word starts to get out and people start saying, hey, you want to work there. This is a progressive culture. They're wanting to grow. The employees that are, leaving overtime are leaving for major growth opportunities. One went on to be a small business, an SBA consultant. Another went on to be a marketing coordinator at a hospital. One went on to their other agency, so on and so forth. And so that improves the retention, which makes all the finding a lot easier, because then now when you post a job on Indeed or on LinkedIn, the talent pool is a lot more robust, because not just because, you pay competitively, benefits, all that stuff, but from what they hear from the employees that have been there that aligned with the company culture, is it attracts people to be willing to, look at look at us over other opportunities because of the, that and that company culture that we worked so hard to nurture and develop.
Hmm. Awesome, awesome. And you all at the building brands marketing, you focus on small to medium sized businesses. Is that your focus?
Yeah, so we are really operating in small to medium sized markets. Originally, when we started, um, because we're a regional based entity in an area called the Crossroads, which is about 2 hours from Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Corpus Christi. We're right in the middle
Mm,
of a lot of major metros in South Texas. We did almost anything in terms of regional business because we were developing so much business around here, being the largest agency in the Crossroads area of South Texas. Um, and over that time, we definitely identified our niches where we had the greatest success. And that was in law firms, doctor offices, and home services like blinds companies, electricians, roofers. And so fast forward to today, on a national basis, that's where we're expanding our footprint, is in those 3 niches, because that's where we've had the most success. And we have a partnership of a parent company now called Rossman Media Group, which is actually an agency of record for Airbnb, Bose. They do work for Nike, Pac-10, some big organizations. And by leveraging some of their resources and their national footprint in the national agency space, we're really dialing in on those small to medium sized businesses across the US that fit those niches, because there's a huge market share opportunity there. And we believe we found what we're good at, so let's just double down on that.
mhm. Nice. So you're expanding from a regional focus to a national focus
That's
currently?
correct. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's awesome. So these are all very fun and specific niches. And any exciting or new kind of marketing strategies that seems to be working for these particular niches?
Yeah, of course, AI automation is kind of making its way into every single niche, which is a little bit more difficult with doctors and attorneys because of HIPAA and bar compliance components and things like that. Now, I will say on the attorney side, uh, drip campaigns and small little knowledge based campaigns are definitely becoming more prevalent and more popular because everybody is looking to acquire more first party data for, I mean, every part of the marketing funnel. And the thing about like drip campaigns, let's say like lead gen campaigns across Facebook with certain white paper downloads, is they also fill the ego components and also the thought leadership components that a lot of law firm marketing, you know, you want to you want to keep at the forefront because branding is really popular and the name recognition and thought leadership of, you know, of those managing partners and you know, other attorneys of the firm as well. But as far as anything outside of that that's really unique happening right now, I think the the only thing I would say is I'm seeing on the law firm side, I'm seeing everybody starting to niche down, just like kind of I guess what we're doing with the agency, rather than trying to be really good at everything. In some cases, they're even picking a subspecialty of their specialty, such as you know, insurance claims for storms and things like that, rather than just being like a general business law attorney as a whole, you know. So just with the prevalence of the internet and being able to do these types of virtual meetings, it expands people's geographic target audience more than ever. And then with COVID, we saw it with a lot of doctors. We had a doctor that opened a whole nother office location 2 hours away, and he was doing twice the amount of visits per day because he was doing at that time all virtual visits basically or majority, and so he could be in one office and do visits in two different markets that are 2 hours away. That really changed the landscape a little bit in the medical practices as well.
Is there a specific type of law firm that you all work with, like injury or?
A lot of personal injury. We do some criminal. We've done a fair amount of real estate law and business law over the years as well, but a little bit of everything. But we haven't worked with a lot of immigration law. I would say it's probably easier just to say the ones that we haven't done a lot with. The immigration law would be the main one.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So for uh, injury firms, the lead magnets on Facebook, giving away the free white paper, is that kind of the hottest game in town right now?
Yeah, that's one thing, but actually the biggest lead driving or conversion driving mechanism with personal injury firms is SEO and SEM, but not at the top of funnel like many people think of. When people think of
Mm,
SEO and SEM, they're thinking of top of funnel awareness stage. Okay, when someone's searching for my services, then I want to be in the top of Google, and that way they could click on me. But the reality is, with a PI firm, um, there is a big component in the middle of funnel with trust and consideration that has to take place. And so what's what I talk about with people that is somewhat undervalued is SEO and SEM is actually one of the strongest middle of the funnel and bottom of funnel driving mechanisms. And you think about it with law firms, you know, it really follows that standard kind of rule of marketing where there needs to be about 6 to 7 brand touches to drive a conversion. And with a PI firm, especially, you never know you're going to need them until you need them, and it happens randomly one day. And so that's why branding, and you see so many law firms doing billboards and uh, video commercials, whether online or linear, things like that, because that really has to take place in the awareness stage before the user ever actually realizes they need your services. And so when they're finally now realizes, you know, they now realize they need a PI firm, they're going to Google and they're searching. And if a business has already touched that consumer 5 to 10
mm,
times in the
mhm.
awareness stage and they're already familiar with that name, they could actually pop up a little bit lower on Google, maybe, you know, in the third position instead of one, or midway through page one, so on and so forth. And the user will be more inclined, whether consciously or subconsciously, to go down to that name that they recognize and they already
Mm.
have brand familiarity with. And that actually will be, having that organic search or paid search ranking will actually be used to really drive the conversion much faster, and bypass some of the competitors by already having some of these programmatic and traditional media tactics happening in the awareness stage of the funnel to build brand recognition. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So it's essentially people are seeing this on Facebook and Instagram. They're downloading some sort of lead magnet, and then they experience an injury, and then they search on Google and they remember the name of your client. Is that
Correct.
accurate?
That's one way it would happen. Now, another, more more common way they're getting continued brand touches, because the lead magnet, then they're going to get emails that follow up and
Mhm,
provide them additional knowledge resources. However, not as many people fill out a lead magnet compared to people that might engage with a social media ad on Facebook or TikTok. And once they engage, then they initiate the retargeting, and they may get a retargeting ad sequence, which starts to build some of those trust and consideration components, rather than just, hey, we do this. Now it tells them why we're good at this, why you should trust us, what real results we've done, or what other people say about us. So that way it's trying to kind of nurture them through the marketing funnel towards the middle of the
mhm,
funnel, although the user doesn't need the service yet. So they've already established that trust and consideration, so that when they do and they're going to the bottom to make the decision, it makes the bridge much shorter.
mhm. Yeah, that to me, that's one of the most unique marketing situations in the US. It's like we're marketing to people that this may or may not happen to.
Oh, it's the same thing with and this is why we do, specialty doctors, gastroenterologists,
Yeah.
rheumatologists, podiatrists. We work with a lot of them. It's the same thing, You're marketing to them, and they don't know that you even need them yet. Same thing with blinds companies.
Mhm,
It's not something that you just wake up and go, "Hey, I need a blinds company today." It's a very similar marketing strategy and
mhm.
funnel between all of those types of businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, you're planting seeds that, may or may not be watered in the future.
Exactly.
That's great, that's great. So, a large amount of our audience is financial advisors. If you've ever worked with any of them, even if you haven't, you have a
Yeah.
great marketing mind. I would love to know, if you think there's any strategies that would work very well for that vertical.
Yeah, so we have worked with some financial advisors. One of the challenges of financial advisors, as everybody listening to this podcast probably is aware of, is rules and regulations. There's a lot of red tape in this industry. What I would say is there's a similarity between financial advisors to specialty doctors and specialty law firms, in that referrals can be one of the strongest lead driving factors, and that comes with B2B relationships. And there's ways to drive those relationships beyond just old school networking. Go to your chamber functions and your different community networking things. Um, one of the coolest ideas I got recently from another podcast that I was featured on was the idea of writing a book. And I know that sounds crazy and like a lot of work. Um, However, you can create a pretty short book fairly swiftly if you're very good at what you do, as long as it's niche to what you do. And he brought up the idea of creating a short book. You print them for $5 to $7 a piece, and send it to the people that you're trying to build a relationship and get a meeting with. Send it to them via Amazon in an Amazon box, and it'll never get thrown away. It'll always make it to the decision maker, because their assistant or office manager will get them that Amazon box when they get an Amazon box with their name on it. And I haven't tried that strategy yet, but that was something that I really was intrigued by, and I
Mhm,
thought was a really good suggestion. That sounds expensive, but if you have a very clearly defined list of people that you're trying to build a referral network with, it could be very effective. Now, the simplified version of that, which we do a lot of with, uh, is a basic snail mail letter, personalized trifold letter with a personal request of why you would appreciate referral opportunities and what you can do, which could go to people like CPAs, could go to people like estate lawyers, things of that nature, trying to develop referral opportunities beyond just the, hey, I'll give you cash in exchange for a referral, referral fee. Really, because typically for most people, what's more important than just the cash referral fee is being sure that they referred their client to somebody that is going to take good care of them. um, so those are a couple ideas that pop out to me now with financial advisors. What we've had success in the past doing, uh, more than anything, is thought leadership content, things that would be like this, or blog content, things that are positioning their area of expertise, building email databases, and then sending out short emails. I love putting timestamps on there as well. I've seen a CPA firm that also does wealth management that did that, and I really loved it, where the subject line will say, you know, uh, 5 tips for tax season, and then 3-minute read. So this isn't going to be a really long-winded email. And I thought that was a smart idea. And anything nurturing first-party data in this industry is going to establish thought leadership and is going to help a lot with financial advisors.
Hmm. Wow, I love that idea. We have a couple clients with books. I'm gonna suggest that to them. That is a very creative marketing idea. Who who doesn't love getting an Amazon package?
Exactly. Yeah. The guy
Yeah.
that was telling me, very bright guy. Anyway, he said it's like it's diabolical. This is a beautiful thing. And I was explaining it to my wife later, who's also in the marketing industry, and she said
Yeah.
the same thing. She said that's diabolical, and I said that's what Scott said. I thought it was the coolest idea.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. Um,
Absolutely.
so as I said, there's a large amount of financial advisors tune in to this program. To the extent that you are comfortable sharing, you're a extremely successful business owner. A lot of financial advisors, you're their ideal client. You're who they're looking for. To the
Mhm.
extent that you are comfortable sharing, do you have a financial advisor? And if so, how'd you find them? And if not, would you ever be interested in one?
Yeah, so I do have a financial advisor. I found them because they were a client
Mm,
of Building Brands Marketing, and also just a community, knew them from the community and that sort of thing. And then ultimately we ended up becoming a client of theirs. It was a reciprocal relationship, which is
mhm,
the key to mutually beneficial business. Uh, and I have a another business as well, and so between multiple, with a lot of irons in the fire, it's good for me to consolidate everything. It's the same CPA firm, which sister wealth management firm is a financial advisor, and I can have all my eggs in one basket.
nice, awesome. Love to hear that. I'm honestly surprised I don't hear that more often. We've interviewed like a number of marketing agency owners, and I'm like, we all have the occasional financial advisor client. Like, so yeah, thank you for proving a theory correct.
Yeah.
Um, Wait, so you have another business as well. You are a busy man. How do you dial in your time?
Yeah, I lots of espresso. I also have 5 kids, and I coach a middle
Wow.
school football. Yeah, so
My
I have I
goodness.
I have a lot going on. I'm the president of the Rotary Club here, serve on, I think, 4 different boards here in the South Texas area. But the
Good for
short
you,
answer
man.
is,
Good for you.
yeah, well, the short answer is I have a lot of good people surrounding me. I have a very competent, exceptional team of directors and a VP at Building Brands, and they're just absolute rock stars at what they do. My
Mhm,
wife is a very good team member in taking care of the house. I have really good board of officers and the Rotary and some of the other board of directors that I'm involved in. And so just really surrounded myself by people that are just really just as passionate and driven as me, and so it's allowed me to take a step back and really scale my personal time a lot broader.
Hmm. That's awesome. And we are coming towards the end of our time. But real quick, what is your other business, if you don't?
Yeah, it's a private holdings company.
Okay, cool, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So my final question is an open-ended question. You can take it in any direction that you like, and it is, what are you working towards?
Yeah, I am working towards being able to effectively take time off work and and actually step away from work. As crazy
Uh,
as this sounds, ironically, in a week and a half, I am going to Italy for a trip with my wife for 10 days. I am 35 years old. This will be the first time in my adult life since I was 18 years old I've taken a week off of work. I've never taken a Monday to Friday off of work. I usually take like a long weekend, a Thursday to Sunday or something like that, and it's the first time in my adult life, and it's because of those people around me that are finally, I have the people in place for me to take a step back a little bit, and they appreciate that truthfully, so they can take a step up. And
mhm,
so I'm working towards doing more of that. I spent the first 15 months of building brands working every day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, missed a lot of family moments, things like that. And so I'm working on having a little bit more balance there, but I also am very, very like I have to stay busy. I don't like to just twiddle my thumbs. And so find a balance there. That's my ultimate goal, but also continuing to just identify the next goals and reach them because I just get bored if I just keep doing the same thing. I always have to look at the next goal within the roadmap and try to strive for that.
mhm. That's amazing, Robert. Thank you so much, man, for sharing your incredibly valuable and short supply of time to come on the show. That's amazing that you're taking a week off, man. I hope you have an amazing time. You and your wife have thoroughly deserved this trip, man. And I hope the weather's perfect and the food is amazing for you.
Ah, thanks, Chris. It's a pleasure being here. Enjoyed it
Yeah.
and had a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. And you are truly a community builder, man. You are such a in 35 short years, you that community is so much better having you in it, man. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Well, it's my
Yeah.
privilege because the community has been really good to me, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's awesome, man. And I'll be excited to keep watching your journey continue, man, and keep doing awesome, exciting things. So where can my audience find out more about you?
Yeah. So they can visit our website, buildingbrandsmarketing.com. They can also find us on all social channels at Building Brands Marketing. And they could follow me personally. I share a lot of business consulting and tips beyond just marketing. On LinkedIn, Robert P is in Patrick Royer. That's Robert P. Royer on LinkedIn.
Great. And we will link to all of those in the show notes and on the website and all that good stuff. Robert, thank you so much for taking the time, man. This was a pleasure. To all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in and keep on growing out there, everybody. See ya.